Mike. I can see it.
Yeah, it was giving me some problems, so I just actually took it down. I'm reposting it.
Okay.
Going up now.
Hello, Carol.
Hi.
We've got 3 board members. We need 1 more for a quorum. Anthony. Hello, Mary Anthony. Yep, you're on mute. There's John Supplett. Hello there.
Good evening.
And Andy. Give it another minute, see if Christy or Andy.
Andy is here.
Hello, Andy.
Hey.
Hello there.
Couldn't
Welcome.
get there, so thank you.
Welcome. All right, I think we should get started here. I am off of mute, right? I'm going to talk to myself. Okay, good. I don't know how many times I've done that over the last month and a half. These brilliant things, and all of a sudden you realize nobody saw it, heard it. Anyways, enough of that. Okay, let's call to order the Board of Library Trustees meeting for Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Janet, can we do a roll call?
Trustee Meadow,
Here.
Trustee Rule,
Here.
Trustee Smart,
Here.
Trustee Supplett,
Here.
Trustee Tangney, I don't believe is here. Trustee Thanopoulos,
Here.
President Zick.
Here, and Christy just came on.
Yeah, sorry, it was taking a while.
Got
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
That's good. That's okay. Actually. Before we get into public comment, I was wondering if we could get a motion to move up the Makerspace project update item 5 to just after public comment.
I move that we move up the makerspace discussion from item 5 to just after public comment.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, and just hold on one second. We do have 2 public comments that I want to read real quickly here. One is from the Caden family. So many, oops, time to put my glasses on. So many libraries around the state, both bigger and smaller than ours, have figured out how to offer curbside or drive-up service, including Sterling, Rock Falls, Peoria, Evergreen, and Elgin. We used to be the library that other libraries emulated. What happened? Why are we so behind? Also, at a previous virtual board meeting, it was stated that the library employees can now call patrons back without divulging their personal numbers. However, there is no way to leave a voicemail for anyone to call back on the library's telephone number. If you call the library, you get a message explaining that the library is closed and then goodbye and the sound of disconnection. Not everyone has access to online chat and it's cumbersome, and recently the library's website was down. Are there no library employees who can use their new telephone abilities to respond to inquiries? And it says, thank you, exclamation point. That's from the Caden family. Thank you very much for your comment. We have one more from Karen Zejka, Szejka. I don't know if I said that right or not. Good afternoon. I am writing to request that you consider requesting approval from the governor to reopen our library drive-through service. Many of us who are wonderful library our wonderful library regularly, especially children, would like to have books made available to us again. Not all of us like to e-read, especially children. I realize this would require some safeguards on the part of the staff, but this community would certainly appreciate their efforts. Thank you. Okay. Always thank everybody for the public for their comments, and obviously we take these seriously, and we're always using these input as we're developing things and trying to make things better. That's really what's most important out of that. Okay, we're going to move on now. Then let's move to item 5, the Makerspace project update that we just moved up. So, Andy, I guess you're on.
Okay, thank you, Greg, and good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. First of all, before I forget, I want to introduce Carrie Kotera, our Director of Interior Design, who will be making a bulk of our presentation this evening. A few things we wanted to tell you about tonight. First, to just give you an update on where we are in the overall process. The roof and HVAC project is currently out to bid. We actually had the pre-bid meeting for that today. I'm told we had a good number of contractors out there looking at the project, and we're told that this is a very good climate right now. Contractors are looking for work. So we will be getting those bid results back in the next couple of weeks and be presenting those to you at the next board meeting. We've been working well with Shales McNutt to get that all going. They needed some time to get their documents ready to bid the project. So it was out to bid last week, pre-bid meeting for contractors today, and then we'll be getting those bid results in a couple of weeks. So all good things there. It's definitely, from our perspective, good to hear that contractors are looking for work and there is interest in the project right now. Anecdotally, we've had a couple bid openings throughout our firm over the last couple weeks where we've had just a tremendous amount of participation. We've seen things come in under budget because of the competitive environment and the fact that contractors are looking for things to do. So as always, and as we've discussed before, we're very hopeful that that presents a good opportunity for our project together to be able to do as much as we possibly can within the budget we have. So that's great news. Other thing we wanted to mention that some of you may have seen, the governor last week announced an initiative for some grants for fast track construction projects, what they're calling public projects that are shovel ready, that are able to break ground within the next 90 days. These are awards of up to $2 million. It's a total allocation across the state of $25 million. So it does appear that our project qualifies for that grant on its face. We are working with Mike and Mary Hastings and Donna Eckel to evaluate our chances for that grant, but if that's something that we do decide to apply for, that will need to happen very quickly, as the deadline for that funding is June 15th. But it's a nice potential opportunity for some additional funding to help offset the library's contribution. So good news there. Any questions about those couple things before we get on to the heart of the matter this evening, our updated imagery?
I
Is
think
there
we're
any
good.
reason not to apply for this? That seems like a no-brainer. Why would we not apply for this?
Oh, there's great question, Andy. Two things that our firm does almost nothing but public work, and we have a number of clients both in the library world and also in municipal and recreation world and park districts who are looking at this as well. There are criteria for the grant that have to do with financial need and economic need relating to the geography of the project and whether the project is in a zone that the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity considers to be underserved. That's about 10% of the scoring criteria for the grant, and Arlington Heights doesn't apply there. Other than that, it's really just a little bit more time on our part that we would need to help you prepare the grant, which we'd need to ask for a little bit of authorization of services for. It'd be very minor, probably no more than 12 hours of our time, but certainly something that has just come up and we'd need to have a little extra effort for. But other than that, Andy, no, there's really no reason not to throw your hat in the ring and see what happens.
I would suggest, Mike, if we are going to apply, contact our representatives in Springfield
Yep, we will do that.
and have them help us shepherd this through.
Absolutely. Good point.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions before we get on to the rest of our presentation? All right. Well, the rest of what we have tonight is a project update. As we talked about last month, since we had consensus to move forward at the budget and with the scope we discussed, we have been working pretty intensely with staff over the last month to develop some more detailed and functional spatial layouts for all the spaces. And we've also been talking a little bit more about the overall interior look. And we're at the point now where we have some fairly meaningful updated visuals to show you. So I think Mike has the presentation and he can share the screen. And I'll turn it over once that's up to Carrie, who will take us through what we have and what we're thinking. And we're looking forward to everybody's feedback and comments with regard to the same. So Carrie, take it away.
Thank you, Andy. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be with you guys this evening. As Andy indicated, we've been working with your staff over the past couple months, quite intently on the interiors of this project. Unfortunately, due to the current COVID situation, we have not had the opportunity to meet again with staff in person to review some of the finishes in detail and look and touch and feel everything. But we met with the staff back in December, and at that point, we had showed the staff a couple different color palettes, directions, if you will. And the staff had narrowed it in kind of one color direction that they were leaning towards. So over the past couple of weeks, we've been developing kind of just some updated interior imagery to kind of reflect some of those colors. The images you're going to see on the next few slides are completely conceptual at this point, just in the fact that even some of your staff have not had the opportunity to meet in person to go over these finishes and make specific selections. So these are really a work in progress at this point, but we just want everybody to see what the space can potentially look like. In addition, you'll see a lot of furniture placed in this. Again, this is used for spatial reasons only. The furniture, we have yet to have meetings. We will after the project is completed and ready for construction. So the furniture at this point is really just put in there just to kind of so that you guys can understand the space a little bit better, but please note that some of the things you may see may or may not actually be what's included in the furniture pieces as we move forward on the Mike, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start off with what we kind of considered option one. We did just kind of general two concepts for the staff to see in this main space as you walk into the building. Just kind of showing a different little look with the finishes between this option and the next option, but we wanted to show both of them to the board this evening. So this is the main space as you walk into the building. Again, we kept things kind of a pretty neutral palette as far as the wall color itself. Some of the flooring options we've been looking at are things that are definitely going to be able to be easily maintained, easily cleaned, also easily replaced moving forward. So we're showing an LVT hard surface floor in this space. The space itself will have an open ceiling, so it'll be all exposed up above, painted dark, as you see in this image. And one of the options that we're proposing that we show to staff and something to help add some dimension to the space and bring the look of the ceiling down is this is an alternate option that we are planning on bidding, which is kind of putting this cloud in the center of the space, if you will. So this is an open metal grid cloud. It will allow for airflow and movement. And then we kind of did some fun things with lighting on this. So as you see it now, that would be an alternate in the project. But again, we're just showing staff on how this can look with a little bit of a cloud in the space as opposed to being a completely exposed ceiling up above. Next slide, Mike. Thank you. So this is just a different direction of showing that same space. So this is if we were looking at the space off onto kind of standing back right from the front entrance, you'll see over to the left, you'll see where the kitchen is actually going to be. So you can see some of the finishes back in the kitchen area. Again, you can see how we're starting to just kind of do some things where we're putting some kind of way graphics finding on the wall, which we think would be really helpful when patrons are coming into the space so they can kind of see where they want to go with different spaces they may use.
Carrie, can I
Yes.
ask you a question?
Yes.
Acoustically, how will a ceiling like that work? I mean, will it be a good buffer for noise? I mean, that's the only thing I thought of right away. It looks really clean, but
That's an excellent question. We have talked about that with staff, and we will continue to work through that. One of the things we have talked about is this exposed ceiling. If we put this cloud type grid in it, we might have the opportunity to add some acoustical baffles up above it. As Natalie had indicated to staff earlier, we will need to be careful with that because we do have overhead fire suppression that we need to worry about. And what we don't want to do is add 2 layers of a ceiling because then we'd have to add another layer of fire suppression sprinklers, which would add costs to the project. So we want to try to keep it as open as possible. There are other things we can do within the space that we've potentially talked about, which is things on the walls that would be some felt acoustic panels. And one of the things that I had shown staff back in December, and once we have a chance to meet again in person, is while we're looking at using a hard surface floor in here, I did show them a couple LVT options that are a thick LVT option. They have almost a thicker cushion back to it. And using a thicker flooring option definitely provides some additional acoustics in the space. That being said, it's not going to be completely quiet as you might expect or could possibly get, for instance, if you had all carpet in the space.
But it looks very much like you see a lot of incubators nowadays. You walk into those types of places, and I don't think I've been in a few of them, and I don't think I hear any. That's probably a good way to put it. I don't hear any issues when I'm in there.
Yeah, I think we talked with staff too, like the pros and cons versus using a carpet floor, where you're going to get a significant amount of acoustics versus a hard surface floor, and I think because of the activities that are going to happen in this space, just putting a carpet in this area just does not make sense from a maintenance and a longevity perspective for the library.
I do have a quick question as well. I know that this is the main area and it's not where some of the equipment is going to be, but if I'm remembering the floor plan correctly, it's sort of in the room right next door with an open ceiling. Is it completely sealed, the wall all the way to the top, so that the noise from that isn't going to carry over the wall? Because I know that there's,
right, noise will travel. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is actually taken all the way up to the deck. If Andy or Natalie, if you guys want to elaborate on that a little bit more, but yes, the walls will go all the way up to the ceiling up above.
Yeah, and actually to expand on that a little further, the building is kind of built in 3 sections. There's a higher roof in the center in the space we're looking at. And then the walls on either side of the space go all the way up to the roof. And then the space that has the industrial tools, and then the space that has the kitchen and the restrooms on the other side are actually lower roofs and lower ceilings. So it's actually set up naturally to have a good acoustic separation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mike, can you go to the next image? Okay. And then this was a second option that we showed staff earlier. So this is, again, keeping with the same kind of color palette of this kind of gray, greige kind of neutral with some of these blue and yellow accents. This option we showed to staff in that it was just a little bit lighter of a flooring material and color. The wall space we made a little bit warmer, whereas opposed to the previous option, it was just a little bit cooler. And this particular floor that we showed staff, again, this is an LVT floor. So this is no maintenance, no waxing, bucket of water and you mop it up. But this particular floor option that we had shown staff was an LVT that actually is meant to look like carpet, as you can see in this image. So like I said, they haven't seen any of this stuff in person just yet, but we just wanted to show staff some of the different options that we have available to us with an LVT floor. So this was just a second option to show them with some of the different kind of imagery that we can get on flooring. And then again, we just kind of, in this option, put in some different types of furniture things. And again, as I mentioned, we will look at this further with staff when we have conversations with furniture, but just wanted them to see a little bit of a different layout between the different spaces. And then in this ceiling, I would also like to point out that this is your base bid. So the ceiling is completely open. There's no cloud in the center. You will see some, you're going to see your mechanics up above. You're going to see your duct work. You're going to see your fire sprinklers. All that stuff is going to be exposed up above, but it would all be painted the same color. So it should just all kind of blend in together. But we wanted you guys to see the difference between having this base bid ceiling versus having the ceiling that had some sort of a dropped cloud in it.
So does this one cost less?
Yes, this is going to be our base bid. And we have the cloud structure in the center. At this point, we have it in our drawings as an alternate. So you'll have that cost and see where bids come in. And if they're favorable and it's something that you would like to consider moving forward with, then you'll have that itemized cost to do so.
Great.
I'm sorry, boy, it's hard to get that unmuted. You keep talking about, is it LVT for the flooring? What does that stand for?
Yes, good question. I apologize. I'm so used to saying that. It's luxury vinyl tile.
Oh, okay.
And don't take the word luxury to mean it's expensive. Many people assume that when they hear the word luxury. I don't know why in the industry they decided to call it luxury, but I can tell you it is not expensive. It can range
I would never
anywhere.
consider vinyl tile luxury under any.
Yeah, it ranges anywhere from like $2 to maybe $5 a square foot, which isn't much more than a standard VCT tile, which is a vinyl composite tile. But
Okay.
yes, it got named luxury many years ago. So
I would even go as far as to say that anything with luxury in front of it is trying to sell itself way higher than it normally is.
yes, yeah.
They really should call it pre-finished vinyl tile because
Right.
it has
That would be it,
coating and
yes.
a finish that doesn't require you to be waxing and polishing like you'd be doing. I mean, think about a school. That kind of maintenance is exactly what we would not be doing here.
Right.
Well, and the other issue now is how we clean, because everything is going to change now. How we clean
Yes.
surfaces, everything is different. So this is important. I think it sounds like this would be good for cleaning, easy cleaning. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Yes. We're going to see a lot of changes, I think, from manufacturers on products and
Yeah.
forward.
Thank you.
And then this is just a different image of the same space. And then the next one I think is the same kind of concept. Again, just looking back at the front entrance. This is your updated kind of vestibule. I don't, Natalie or Andy, if you want to add anything more to it, but this isn't a close up in the vestibule area, but you can see we're kind of proposing opening that up a little bit more. So you have some more glass that's bringing in some natural light. I believe-
if everybody recalls from the plan, part of what we're doing to enhance accessibility is to actually bring that vestibule a little bit forward into the space, which allows us to get a straight shot of a ramp right into the door rather than that ramp off to the side. So That blue wall you see that kind of comes forward is what that'll end up looking like from the inside.
Andy, this is Mary Anthony. Speaking of the ramp, were we able to get any grants for ADA?
That excellent question. That's kind of a good segue on into one other thing I wanted to mention. We will know where we are. We'll know a lot more tomorrow. We actually have the hearings for the state's Live and Learn construction grant tomorrow morning. So that's the $50,000 grant from the state for accessibility issues. So we should know pretty quickly where our, actually within probably 24 hours now, how our application scored, and then it'll just be a matter of what the Secretary of State decides to fund. So I think if you'd asked me that question tomorrow at this time, I'd have a lot more information, but it's definitely in process.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, this is a concept of the kitchen. Just a few items to kind of point out to all of you is that we've had a lot of discussion with staff and how this kitchen area is going to function. It is going to be rated as a commercial grade kitchen. And because of that, it does limit us to what we can and cannot use in this space when it relates to finishes. We have to adhere by certain health code policies for the finishes that we can put in this space. The flooring in here is definitely commercial rated flooring. It is a sheet product. It is heat welded together. The floor is actually wrapped up the walls. So it's a seamless floor up the wall. So we don't have any kind of cove base where crevices of things can grow. This particular floor is also low maintenance. But unfortunately, because we have to have a commercial rated floor, there aren't a ton of options as it relates to just the overall look and feel of it. It's very limited in the patterning and colors that are available. In this particular option, we're showing a floor that's a little bit of a lighter blue to kind of carry on the blue color that we had on the main space. The actual workspace itself, as you see, all the countertops will be a combination of stainless steel and or quartz, which again will pass health inspections and is also a requirement. All of the wall spaces that are adjacent to any of the counter spaces, as well as the island and things, we're going to have the stainless steel and or an FRP panel. The kind of subway looking image that you will see on the wall, that's actually an FRP panel. It's an entire sheet meant to look like subway tile. The pros to this is, one, the cost. It's going to be less expensive than tile, but two, you don't have any of the grout that you would with a tile. So it's also going to eliminate the need for things that are going to grow in the space. When we spoke with staff this week, we are actually considering getting rid of the stainless and just taking the FRP subway looking tile all the way down to the countertops. But again, this is really all about cleanability in this space. And then we just showed staff some different options with furniture, and we're going to talk with them a little bit further, but we have options in the tables if those want to be stainless or butcher block top. And those are all things that we'll continue to discuss with staff as we move through the design process.
If I may.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Two things. First, looking at these stools, I cringe because I don't know that they're sturdy enough. A second thing is ADA accessible. I know that we have plans for ADA accessible in here. I can't see where that would be.
Yeah, we do have the furniture itself. I would say we're going to continue to have those discussions with staff. We also know that there's an agreement that we have in place with the vendor that might be coming in to be using this in a demonstration, as well as the vendor that is providing a lot of your kitchen appliances and things for the space. They have some things that they may suggest or they would want to use for the chairs in this space, but we have a ton of options when it comes to furniture. So we will continue to explore that. As far as the ADA component, I can let Andy and Natalie jump in here if they need to, but we do have counter spaces. It's hard to see in this, but the island in the back in the center is actually at 2 different levels. So we do have an ADA height counter space back there, as well as a standard height. The tables themselves in the front, one of the tables will actually be ADA. Of the 4 that you see sitting here, the other 3 would be standard height. And like I said, Andy or Natalie, if I misspoke on any other countertops that you want to include that were ADA, please feel free to jump in and do so.
Yeah, you can tell also from this image that the sink that's farther back in the space is at a lower height. That is an ADA recommended height for a sink. What we've done is triangulated the ADA area to that corner where they can easily get between the back of the island, their ADA table, and the accessible sink.
Hey, you know, I just got another question. I don't know if it's going off on a tangent. Just looking at all those windows made me think about security. There's obviously going to be a lot of kind of tempting things inside this makerspace. Are we doing anything special with the windows overall to make them more secure?
Go ahead,
Oh,
Natalie.
I was going to say, I know that the plans the library had was to, once we get them all set and painted, they were going to nail them shut so that they cannot be accessed again.
Yeah. I also imagine we'll be doing something with window treatments. We like to recommend roller shades, and if there's ability to get something that's mostly opaque, that lets a little bit of light through, but doesn't put on display too much what's happening in here, I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to address that.
Okay. Yeah, it's make sure we address it, because yeah, it's going to be a lot of interesting things in here.
If I can jump in, going back to what John mentioned earlier regarding the stools, and I understand that these furnitures, placements are not defined and definite. It was partly just so we can get a kind of a concept and a feel for the space. I own a studio and I have stools in my studio. A majority of my space is stools. But I do have quite a few people who are elderly. They're not necessarily ADA, but they need a back, something that they can lean against. They may need arm rests that they can push up against, just because they're not good at getting back onto their feet. These are not people who normally qualify for that kind of stuff, but they have bad knees, bad hips. So it would be probably a good idea to have a few other stools or options that would allow for somebody to have a little bit more back support or be able to get up from the stool if they were a little bit more limited, but not necessarily, in a wheelchair or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. All excellent points. Yes.
Yeah, we would expect to provide a couple different types of seats, whatever those may be, to allow for just that.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I was suggesting.
Any other questions on the kitchen space? Nope.
Oh.
Okay.
Keep going on.
Okay.
You know, I'm sorry. I will ask one more question about the ceiling. Is that a drop ceiling?
Yes,
so
it
that's
is a drop ceiling, but it will be a washable tile that's inserted.
Thank you, because I was going to say, how are you going to clean that?
Yeah, it's got to be something washable and cleanable. We really don't have a choice.
Yeah, it'll never get smoky in there.
We hope it's not smoking in there.
I'm just thinking spaghetti sauce. I don't know.
Yeah.
You haven't seen me cook.
Okay. And then we have just a couple images to show downstairs. Again, as I had stated previously, this is kind of all conceptual as far as some of the furniture pieces and even some of kind of the locations that we may or may not have some accent paint colors. This is kind of right in the center of the space. So we wanted to create kind of just this lounge area that will be in the center where people can kind of hang out and sit. This particular shot right here is looking back. You can see where the bathrooms entrance would be back here. Apologize in this rendering, it's a little bit darker in the back, but we're proposing on kind of that back wall where the drinking fountains, I believe, would be, is we would also have kind of that FRP subway looking tile to kind of carry that look through. But again, also, it's a durability there, so we can cleanability, water, have something on the wall that's a little bit more durable. And then over here back to the right is where that's actually where your art space is. So that's kind of where all the painting, the pottery, kind of things of that nature will happen in that space back to the right. The flooring in there and the wall finishes and the colors we're still going to work through with staff, but we were showing that we could potentially have the option to add some different accent walls in these rooms downstairs, and staff had indicated earlier that that might be a good wayfinding purpose to people that come home they come to the space, they would say, go downstairs to the room that's got the yellow or the room that's got the green. So we'll continue to work through kind of those finite little details with the staff.
Carrie, this,
Oh,
Anthony.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Mary Ann.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Carol.
Oh, I just gonna say, Carrie, I would just recommend, you mentioned water fountains. We need to have bottle fillers. After this whole thing going on, we're retrofitting our water fountains now at the library to bottle fillers. So maybe a water fountain and a bottle filler, but I think we have to include that. I know that's.
I
more-
agree. I
it's more
totally agree,
expensive.
Carol. Yep,
Yeah, it's more expensive, but I think we just have to do it.
right.
You know what? By default, we have been, whenever we're doing a new drinking fountain anywhere, it's automatically a combination high-low unit with the bottle filler.
Good.
We had planned on that upstairs. I don't think we have budgeted to do that downstairs, but that's not a terribly expensive item. You know, I think we're seeing them just in terms of trade price to a job at around $1,400 plus whatever it costs to install it. So not a huge investment in the grand scheme of things, but I think that's a great point, Carol.
Anthony, do you have something?
No, the same point, and that's exactly where I was thinking we're going with it. The only thing is, if it is as they're installing it, if we need to shut off the water fountain and just keep the bottle filler available, we just need that as an option too.
Yeah. What will the one thing we will have to think about downstairs, since that's kind of an existing configuration, is will introducing that bottle filler and a larger drinking fountain cause any issues with ADA clearances? So we'll look at that, but I think we understand what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll come up with a creative solution.
Great, thank you.
So this is the option looking back towards the other direction where the sewing room would be. So this, we just kind of wanted to again show a little bit of close up of that room. This is where I was indicating earlier how we were talking about we could potentially add some accent colors that might help space or staff define the spaces. So here we had just put in another paint color on that back wall. Again, the furniture, we realize these aren't really what true sewing machine tables would look like, but we put them in there spatially just to see what the space would look like with furniture in it. And then the floor in here is also probably going to be a hard surface LVT floor. We would expect it to be the same one that we would use upstairs. We did have the conversation with staff if this would be carpet versus a LVT floor. We just feel an LVT floor in this space would be easier for mopping and cleaning and sweeping it up, as opposed to the carpet, because carpet's just going to keep in some of those fibers, and we don't want needles and things like that getting stuck in the carpet, as opposed to a hard surface floor that they would be easily be able to swept up. And then the other thing I kind of wanted to point out too, which I didn't mention in the previous slide, is the existing ceilings downstairs are remaining. So that will remain as is. And we are proposing that just stays all white or a real light off-white, because the ceilings are low downstairs. We don't want to do anything to the ceilings that will make the space feel smaller or have that feel of the ceiling coming down on you even more than it kind of already is with it being a lower ceiling downstairs.
Yeah, we are replacing light fixtures. We will have new LED fixtures throughout the facility. All of these fixtures on the lower level, and for that matter, all of them upstairs, except for those more decorative fixtures, just as a little bit of detail, are both color tunable, meaning you can change the color temperature on them from warm to cold. It's not something, it's something that's kind of a building maintenance thing to do, not something anybody can walk up to and change. And they're also light output selectable. So we'll have the ability from the same fixtures to adjust color temperature or light output depending on the needs of the space and the functional needs. So it just gives us a lot of flexibility. What we're finding is that kind of functionality is just starting to come more and more with a lot of the fixtures that are out right now. So it's a nice benefit, especially in a place like this where different kinds of activities are calling for different qualities of light in terms of color and in terms of light output.
So,
Sorry, Carrie, could you explain that ceiling again? The material?
So the ceiling itself is most of the ceiling downstairs is a drywall ceiling right now that we intend to keep. and repaint. And then the light fixtures themselves will be all replaced with new LED fixtures that are color tunable and light level switchable to be able to generate different outputs depending on what's happening in the space.
Carrie, are those quilts that are on the wall? They're beautiful.
Those are, and actually we can thank Andy courtesy of those. His wife, Julie, actually makes quilts, and Andy took some pictures of some of her quilts that she has made, and he sent them to us, and we just put them in a JPEG file into the renderings.
Oh my
And
gosh.
ironically enough, she did a wonderful job because her color scheme matches our building perfectly. So
It's great, great.
and then we have the next couple slides are about the floor plan, and I'll hand it over to Natalie or Andy if you wanted to give the board an update on any of the floor plan.
Hey, really quick, if I could, there's supposed to be a loom somewhere?
There's a large table in the back of the sewing space next to that model in the back. That was the table that somebody had donated, I believe, for the use in the library. It was the large working space.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Andy.
No problem at all. I was to say for as we go to the floor plans, I'll defer to Natalie on kind of some of that discussion, as she spent a lot of time working out these details.
Are the restrooms only allow one person at a time?
On the first floor, yes.
And the second floor, it's multi-person?
On the ground level, they are one person as well. Well, I guess you could get two in the male because it has a urinal, but they are one person.
I'm just thinking social distancing, if it continues, or if we have another surge in the future, the 6 feet, we might just want to keep it to one. I don't know. And I just would like, if it is unisex, to just have, obviously, we're going to have an ability to change an infant's diaper if need be, right? Okay.
Yes. And part of that, we could say we really like to keep the bathrooms all single user, but the state of Illinois plumbing code doesn't necessarily allow that. Right now, what we're planning is what we think we can get through the permitting for this portion of the project with the quantity count in the bathrooms. So we have, in the past month, we have gone through and finalized all of these spaces in depth with all of the objects and all of the space requirements that the library has called out. So what you're seeing here are all the agreed upon schemes that the library is intending to use the spaces for. The big center space, of course, we're calling Flex Space 1. That is the multifunctional space. To the right is Flex Space 2. It is also a multifunctional space. It does have a little design computer lab incorporated right into it next to the elevator. To the left is the kitchen, which we have reviewed with you guys already. Up in the, there's a hallway there that has the new water fountains and a series of lockers and coat hooks so people can store their stuff while they're working on other things. Up that hallway is the manager's office and your janitorial closet. And then across the flex space is the industrial tools lab, which contains all the 3D printers, CNC machines, laser cutters, vinyl cutters, special cameras, and some workbenches for anybody doing industrial tool work. If you want to go to the next. In the basement here, I'm going to take you from the lounge is in the center space with the where you see the couch and chairs there. In the lounge on the left side, we're adding some more lockers specifically for the sewing and lounge users. And on the right side, we are incorporating some display boxes that the library already has in storage currently. Continuing to the right is the arts area. with an instructor's desk. There are, you can see 6 work tables there with an instructor's desk. And if you go upwards of that area, you'll see the screen printing press, the cleaning area, some dryage racks and storage, and then a large work counter, which has a lot of storage underneath it as well. And there's also lockers in that space for people using the art space.
In the sewing space, is there going to be doors to close that space off?
No, I think that we were preferring everything be as kind of open as possible so that there's a lot of sharing and intermingling of spaces.
Which I just know sewing machines, especially if you've got 10 of them and they're all going at one time, could probably get pretty noisy.
Mhm.
Along those same lines that President Zick just brought up, I think with COVID-19, this open layout that has been such an integral part in modern offices and, you know, modern spaces, maker spaces, is actually harder to make socially distant. I'm wondering if we need more walls because of this pandemic.
Well, yes, we can explore that again. We do, I think it works a little bit both ways. The more walls, the more doors, the more things people are touching. If this does happen again in the future, we can find ways to address the closing off of those areas if you do want to partition areas. I'm not particularly sure where the design team here would like to take the COVID.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that would be a public health. Public health would agree with that perspective, and I would kind of defer to what public health people think before making any decisions there.
I think the goal in all of this, you know, for public health reasons and future adaptability reasons and otherwise, is just, although we're showing a very specific layout here, the idea of all of this is just to be very, very flexible. So as you move into the space, find out how it works, find out what programs and amenities are more and less in demand, that you have the ability to move some things around and adjust to what you're seeing. So in that sense, we certainly would like to maintain a degree of flexibility here to allow for all of those things. And of course, you know, whatever we don't know yet about the future, what might become the next thing in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years that people are looking for the library to provide of this space. But if those are real concerns, and you know, we'd be happy to explore them a little more. I mean, Natalie is correct that doors and walls do bring up other issues, but those are valid points. And I think we can definitely take a look at what it means to make sure we have the right amount of separation and isolation, or that there's an easy ability to provide that should that be needed for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that we're going to have to manage that. We need to we need to make sure, you know, here you got, you know, the 10 spots or the 9 and the 3x3s, you know, can we change those to make them 4, you know, in the sewing area instead? We're just going to have to manage it. My own thing about, yeah, I agree, you know, the doors and everything in my office right now, my company, we have all the doors open everywhere, so nobody has to touch anything going through. My only thing with the doors is the sound is still going to be there, so there's some way to soundproof that a little bit or whatever. But yeah, we don't need more. I don't think we need more closing in.
And I just like to echo what Andy said. The flexibility of the space gives us the ability to adjust how many people are in each spaces. Like in the sewing area there, we could take out that middle row of sewing machines and easily maintain social distance while people are working. To address the noise issue, Greg, we did talk about that. And that's why the sewing is on the one side and then the fine arts is on the other side, separated in the middle by this space with the soft surfaces that I believe is carpeted. And then we also have tall, I think there's lockers and display areas there that would help to block that noise. And so I don't know if Andy, if you want to speak to that a little bit further.
No, those are great comments, Mike. I was just going to kind of jokingly suggest that my wife provides some more quilts to help knock down that sound. But yeah, I think there's a lot we can do, and we can. Although we are fairly far along in the development of this, these are great comments. Part of the reason we're providing these updates are to get your feedback and to make sure we are listening and responding to what you're concerned about. So we will take all of this under advisement and get back to staff and to you at our next meeting about what we see as some potential things to address these concerns, whatever it may be. Give us a little bit of time to think about it, and we'll definitely make sure that we respond to what you ask. We really do appreciate all of this feedback, and it's how we make the project better and how we fulfill the vision that you have for the space and for what you're doing.
Great, thank you very much. Any more questions or anything? Or Natalie?
If I could go finish real quick, because we did
Sure.
add 2 alternate areas that are not in the original price bid. They were in the original wants list, but we pulled them out as alternate bid prices here. In the area next to the vending machines, that's the side stair upwards, we have added an alternate price to fit out that room to be a private meeting space. There was original discussion about having a small company work area for small makers that might need that. We've also, next to the bathrooms, to the right of the bathrooms, we are putting in an alternate for a single point of sales area. It's kind of a storage room. The library plans to do a lot of sales of products and kits and things to use and do with all these spaces and materials. And talking through it might become difficult at some point to manage that per space. So we are providing the alternate for the single source point of sale.
Okay, very good. Very good. All right. Anything else, trustees? Any more questions, comments? All right, Andy, Natalie, Carrie, thank you very much. I think that's it. It looks like it's coming along nicely, and I know you guys are going to lead us to a great project here and great finish. That's all going to be underneath budget. So thank you, thank you very much for all that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for all of your commentary. I think we've obviously done a lot of work. We've done a lot of work with your staff. Your staff's put a lot of thought into this as well, and been great to work with. So looking forward to continuing to develop this. We're going to have a lot more news next month with respect to bid results on the roof and HVAC, hopefully some news on grants of various sources, and of course, further development of what you all saw tonight. So really appreciate your time. Have a great evening, stay safe, and we'll see you all next month.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Bye,
Stay safe.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good night.
you.
All right, take care.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Let's keep moving on to our regularly scheduled program here. We are now going to jump into the liaison reports. Do we have anything on the Friends?
I do. Yeah, I have a few things here. So Friends are planning for their August to be their next sale. They are still pursuing credit card processing. They should have that ready for the August sale. The book sale committee is looking at a safe return to operating plans. Their book donation, quarantine, money handling, cleaning, etc. They're looking for some other income streams as well, including online sales. FOL was able to donate adult and children's books to our couple of our staff to fill the little free libraries throughout town. Terry Scallon headed that up. And then they had their board elections and they had no changes to the board officers. And they wanted to thank the staff for their incredible efforts to keep the library open during this unusual time. I did not add that actually came from Brian, so.
Hey, the whole thing with putting the books in those little libraries, I saw that. I can't remember. Was that on your report or was media or social media post maybe? But how do we, do people sign up for that? Do they call in for that? Or did we just kind of like go driving around saying, oh, there's one, let's stick some stuff in there?
No, I believe that came from, it was an idea that staff had. I believe it was Terry Skellen, our bookmobile supervisor, that had that idea, and asked the friends for the books, I think around 100 or 150 books, to go and fill those little free libraries that they were getting.
So they just walked around, and when they found them, they put stuff in there.
They actually plotted out a route, took the van and a bunch of items. And went and
Hey,
filled them.
Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah, there actually is an association of little libraries that they used. That was in their post.
Oh, okay.
There actually is a national association that does that.
Okay. Thank you, Deb.
Is
All
there
right.
anything else to add to that, Shannon?
No, Trustee Smart is correct. You can look up a map of locations for little free libraries, and that's what they use to take the van out and make the deliveries.
All right, great.
Some of the little libraries are actually housing, I guess, non-perishable food too, for people to pick up during this time as well. I don't know if you saw that, it was like in a neighboring suburb.
And just to add a note on that, the Friends of the Library actually donated 250 books for the little free libraries in Arlington Heights.
Great. Wonderful. All right, very good. Anything more on the Friends?
That was it from the friends.
All right, let's move on to the foundation. Anything with the foundation?
Yes, they now have 52 donors at the founding donor circle level, which is $1,000 plus, and 54 donors at the founding donor level, which is under $1,000. They currently have 8 community partners. All founding donor circle contributors have been listed in the library newsletter. Next month, they will hopefully publish the names of all the current founding donors as well. And they plan to put both lists together as they embark on their 3rd year in the fall. They sent out an update to all donors, sharing some of the renderings of the kitchen to kind of build momentum there. Their first audit has been completed, covering the first 3 months of their existence in the fall of 2018, as well as all of last year. The audit committee noted that the financial records were easily accessible, in good order, and that the financial transactions are largely meeting the procedures required by the board. Now that we have an audit, we can update our GuideStar account and I believe we will receive a silver rating. That's from Lori, the president of the foundation. She also said that the advisory team event has been rescheduled to September 23rd, hoping that we can meet together at that time. If not, they will suggest to the board that they host a Zoom event so they can all get caught up with the current needs of the library and the makerspace. That's it from the foundation.
All right, great. Thank you very much. All right, let's keep moving on. Go on to action item 1, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 21st, 2020. Can we have a motion for approval on that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any comments on that? Thoughts? Okay, so all in favor say aye.
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 All right, great, thank you. So one's passed. Okay, action item 2, approval of the minutes of the special board meeting of April 29th, 2020. And
I
can we
move
have a,
approval.
go Deb.
I move approval.
I second it.
Okay, great, thank Christy. All right, any comments on that one? Any changes? Okay, all in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Okay, thank
Greg, did
you.
you say August or April? I'm sorry, I thought I misheard.
Oh, if I said August, I meant April. April 29th, 2020.
Okay.
Trying to wish the summer away already. Okay, let's go on to item 3, and this is a review of the financial report for the period ended April 30th, 2020.
All right, I'm going to ask Donna to do the financial report in the check register tonight.
All right, so the revenue. Let's see, you want to talk about the check register or the revenue, Mike?
Revenue first.
Okay, good. All right, so we've received $7.7 million in real estate taxes as of April 30th. This is 54% of the total real estate budgeted for 2020. Right now, we're still expecting property taxes we're supposed to receive 100% at this time. Sales taxes are down, but actually property taxes are remaining the same as of right now for the prediction of the comptroller's office. So we can go with that. And so we're on target for that. Expenses, 33% of the fiscal year is lapsed, and we've expensed 33% of our operating budget. And that's very typical of us. So usually at the beginning of the year, it's a little bit higher because we expense our prepaids at the beginning. So that's that.
Okay. Any questions on the financial report? Okay. So let's move on to action item 4, review of the check register for the period ended April 30th, 2020.
Okay, I'm just going to point out a few checks throughout April. One of the checks on page 1, check number 80261. It was in the amount of $275. It's for Argo translation. And this was a translation for English learners, family story time. And there were 2 columns that were translated to Polish and Russian. So that's what that was for. And then on page 2, check number 80314, $5,804.50. This was for Northwest Municipal Conference. And it's not really a conference. So I just wanted to point out that it's our EIP, our Employee Assistance Program. So that covers the entire year. And then we have the page 3, check number 80278, $1,650. It was for complete temperature systems, and we have a quarterly inspection of our HVAC units. That is. On page 3 and page 12, there's check 80284, and the total check amount is $3,447.50. It's for Garden Guy, and we have new landscapers this year. So this is spring landscaping for the cleanup of the main library and the Belmont building space as well.
Cool.
On page 4, check number 80311 for $300. A very popular program. This is Miss Jamie's Farm. It was a recorded video performance with virtual music. It aired on the 25th of April, and there were 143 live views for that performance. And then just one more to point out on page 5, check number 80279, $450. That's the consumer's checkbook is the vendor name. It's an online database. It's a subscription for 12 months, and you can access it remotely. And it's basically where people can go to, the tagline is tired of getting ripped off and receiving poor service, so that it has a list of services that are affordable in the area. That is all I have for the check register.
Wonderful. Okay, can we have a motion for approval of the register, please?
I would move that we approve the check register for April 30th, 2020 in the amount of $1,534.70.
I second.
Okay, any comments, any more questions for Donna? We good? Okay. Janet, can we do a roll call on that, please?
Trustee Meadow? Trustee Meadow?
Sorry, I just got kicked off, guys.
Sorry, I'm muted. Yes.
Trustee Rule?
Yes.
Trustee Smart?
Yes.
Trustee Supplet?
Aye.
Trustee Tangney?
Yes.
Trustee Finopoulos?
Aye.
President Zick?
Yes. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Okay, we're going to move on now to action item 6 now. This is the library closure due to COVID-19. Mike.
You forgot the executive director report.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry, Mike. Skipped it. Thank you. Executive Director's report, Mike. And you're on mute.
Thank you. Okay, I'll highlight a few things from the director's report here. On the first page, the new reading program for grades K through 3 called Read 500. This is in response to requests from parents, teachers, and school librarians looking for year-round reading program to bridge a gap between the established library reading programs, 1,000 books before kindergarten and 100 books before high school. Youth outreach librarian Emily Loeffler worked to quickly launch Read 500, which is a K through 3rd grade reading program that staff were developing. They launched it on April 20th, and the new program had 18 registrants within 10 days. They also created a promotional vehicle that was shared with local school contacts. And on the next page, the virtual ESL programs. ESL has been leading conversational groups, other programs, and working one-on-one with students from home. Our ESL advisor, Allie Gurley, shared a picture of her and one of her students shown here in the director's report, working through some grammar exercises. So I just wanted to highlight one of the virtual services that we're providing, and ESL is one that has been utilizing some of those virtual services pretty heavily. Below that, the phone-in story discussions. Our senior and accessible services staff hosted weekly phone-in story discussions to reach homebound residents with limited or no access to other technology. Participants call our toll-free number to listen to an audiobook short story or book excerpt and then participate in a discussion. In addition to discussing this selected story, this program has offered a way for participants to meet other community members in the same situation and feel connected. In the most recent discussion, Doris, a resident in assisted living, said, "It is the highlight of my week," and others agreed. So I thought that was a nice way that we're reaching out to that demographic. On the next page, page 3, our senior center current events discussion group members shared their appreciation to the library for making it possible to continue their weekly discussions and connect with their friends. This group has been meeting since 1989 and held their 1500th session on May 14th. Our resident Edwina said, "I was feeling really depressed before our discussions resumed, but now I have something to look forward to." So
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, so just a question on that one. So how do we get everybody prepared for that or set up for that? Because I know there's another, looking for where it was now. Oh, the outreach to the homebound residents, setting up their tablets or the computers to do that. Are we kind of working with that, corresponding those two things together?
Shannon, do you want to address that? Do you have details?
Sure. There was a number of sessions that the SAS staff, as well as one of our digital services staff members, Chris Smith, Mary Jo Lipo, and Katie Myers. What they did was they worked with the current events group, the individual attendees, to help them get set up on Zoom. So they did a number of practice sessions. For the phone-in story discussions, the toll-free number is actually through a Zoom account. So they're separate, but the staff worked with those customers to make sure that they'd be able to use the technology and participate.
Great, yeah, because those type of things are fantastic, because obviously we've got residents who technology isn't second nature or don't know how to use it. So the more outreach we can do for things like that, and it's fantastic. And obviously, when it said the SAS team made 95 calls, those are obviously actual calls and not in-person calls, correct?
Yes, they're actually calling, they actually made 95 phone calls.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, on the bottom of that page, just continuing to print the 3D, using the 3D printers, the personal protective equipment. Our Makerspace branch assistant manager, Chris Kruger, printed 566 surgical mask extenders on his personal 3D printers for donation through the library. So this design is approved by the National Institute of Health and moves the rough elastic straps off workers' ears and provides relief to those who wear the mask for long periods of time. We did order 8 of the Makerspace's Dremel 3D 45 printers. We're waiting for those to come in, and then we will be printing an initial 300 additional face shields. And let's see, and then those will be donated to local organizations, including the Moorings of Arlington Heights. Okay, and then on the next page, page 4, just more about that. The director of nursing at the moorings of Arlington Heights shared her thanks in an email after receiving some of those mask extenders. They love the mask extenders so much, they asked for 100 more. So Mary Tremett, the director of sales and marketing of the Highlands at the moorings, also shared her appreciation. Thank you so much for thinking about the moorings. On behalf of the moorings, I want to thank you for this and all your support that you've given the residents and the employees of the moorings. We truly appreciate it. At the bottom of the page, I was going to mention that the senior and accessibility staff made 95 calls to senior residents. Shannon kind of touched on that. They made direct calls to assist residents with reference information, helped them get books downloaded to tablets, offered advisory assistance, and let them know we were thinking of them. So one of the quotes from a resident, I sure do miss all of my library people. Just called to tell you I'm thinking about you all. Thanks for all that you do. Another resident messaged, I miss talking to you. It's so good to hear a familiar voice, and I look forward to participating in the story discussion. On the next page, page 5, our digital services has implemented virtual one-on-one appointments. Through the library website, customers can request an appointment on the subjects of computers and technology, or ebooks and e-readers. Digital services staff will arrange an over the phone or Zoom video chat appointment. In April, digital services staff took 10 of these appointments on topics ranging from setting up Zoom, working with Excel formulas, and getting library content onto new devices and more. A little bit lower down the page, volunteer appreciation video. So the National Volunteer Appreciation Week was April 19th through the 25th. In lieu of celebrating our volunteers in person, our volunteer coordinator, Jennifer Begich, and digital media specialist, Chris Smith, expressed the library's immense gratitude for our volunteers by producing a thank you video. And there's a link to that in the director's report if you'd like to watch that video. At the bottom of the page there, our early literacy supervisor, Rebecca King, hosted a virtual story time for 30 moms and kids from District 214's Women and Children's Center family literacy program. Everyone enjoyed their favorite songs, stories, and danced with a toy. On the next page, National Bookmobile Day was April 22nd. The Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services shared a virtual bookmobile parade featuring over 100 bookmobiles and vans from across the world. A Facebook page highlighted a new bookmobile every 15 minutes, and our own bookmobile made an appearance. So it got in on the limelight as well on social media. On the next page, page 7, we actually took to the streets on April 29th. Our bookmobile driver, Ron Moravik, and our youth outreach librarian, Emily Loeffler, took the bookmobile, and I took the library van, and we participated in a parade for Our Lady of the Wayside. We connected with 130 customers by going through a first grade teacher parade. So that was a lot of fun. It was really cool to see people out there reacting to us driving around, even people that were not part of, not students, just passerbys waving, and we were honking and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. On page 9, on Tween Tuesdays, every Tuesday, 4th through 6th graders can attend a virtual program developed just for them. In April, our tween librarian, Carrie Bailey, presented mug cakes, Peeps Science, Snack Attack, and creative writing. Tweens created book spine poetry, completed a Mad Lib story, and collaborated on a blackout poem. Participants viewed examples of haiku and concrete poems. During the last portion of the program, teens had time to create a poem of their choosing and share it with the group. Then on page 10, I just want to mention our virtual reference via chat. So they continue to be an important way for our customers to connect with us. In April, Info Services covered 56 hours of chat services, addressing a wide range of questions. Staff answered 607 chats, 30% more than April of last year. They also answered over 50 email questions. Topics addressed included ebook troubleshooting, virtual programming, database topics, account troubleshooting, and in-depth reference questions. Okay, on page 11, our Info Services advisors created top shelf video book talks on the library's YouTube channel. They've received 320 views, and the advisors created Instagram posts also promoting the recommended reading. On page 12, our Info Services librarian, Allison Lowry, and our Business Services advisor, Diane Malik, brought speakers in for 2 virtual programs. 21 people attended our Job Search 101 Highlights included techniques and resources for effective job searching in the current environment. 13 participants attended the case for continuing to market through these crazy times. It featured strategies for small businesses to work through uncertainty and find opportunity in crisis through marketing. Next, Dan and Raymond's Movie Club moves online. So Dan Geyer and Raymond Benson continued their popular monthly film series on Zoom with 2 shows in April, Star Trek movies on April 9th and The Influence of 007 on April 30th. So one of the trustees had a question about the Dan and Raymond Movie Club. So that did move virtual, and the Friends are still supporting that as far as I know. Donna, can you confirm that? The Friends are still supporting it? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, then on page 13, our programs and exhibits specialist Sam Ryan worked with bookbinding artist Regin and Gloria to go virtual. 26 customers joined Regin and Zoom for from his home studio. He covered all parts of the bookbinding process, including the many types of stitches. Customers shared pictures of their finished products following the event. One customer proudly made her book using nothing more than a hotel sewing kit and her own art supplies. On page 14, I just want to continue. I think I mentioned this last month, the community COVID-19 community story project launch. So this was launched on April 7th. Our outreach and engagement for this ongoing local story and future exhibit project continues. 2 information sessions designed and delivered by the project leads invited community members and AHML staff to learn more about the project. Exhibits coordinator Carol Najee, genealogy and local history librarian Jamie Middendorf, and digital services librarian Bill Pardue led a total of 30 attendees to explore creative ways to help them get started with their contributions. Throughout the month of April, staff connected with more than a dozen organizations about the project, including Northwest Suburban Genealogy Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, Luther Village, Journeys the Road Home, Vocal, Historical, Arlington Neighborhood Association, Arlington Heights Fire and Police Departments, Arlington Heights Chamber of Commerce, Business Builders Synergy Group, and the Rotary Club. Our business advisor, Diane Malik, coordinated with the Chamber of Commerce, who shared news of COVID-19 stories open to all members of the local businesses community in an April 30th e-blast to over 2,200 businesses and residents. So we've actually, since we've launched this, multiple libraries have also reached out to us to find out details about the project so they could duplicate something in their own communities. In the next couple pages, I gave some usage statistics, virtual services. So our numbers are a little bit different this month. As you see, I'm sure I did not include the dashboard, and I included a much truncated version of our graphical metrics summary. Really, most of those numbers didn't make a whole lot of sense, given that we've been closed and there hasn't been that in-person interaction. So I did include the numbers that I felt were more important for you guys to see. So the web pages, clearly the website or the website visits, number of website visits are down, being that our our public computers are not currently being used. So a lot of our numbers come from those. But you can see ebooks and databases are our top 2 pages outside of our homepage. Looking at the social media engagement, we're seeing high engagement again in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Constant Contact. Mary, do you want to speak to any of these numbers, or is there anything that you wanted to highlight out of this?
I think, especially with YouTube, with uploading the virtual programs, you can see we uploaded 23 videos this month. Typically, we would upload, 3 or 6 last month. So we're getting a lot of views on that channel and more watch time hours. So that's really up. Constant Contact continues to be very high as well. We're sending lots of messaging. We are beginning to get some unsubscribes because we are sending so much messaging. So we're going to try to balance that and keep an eye on that number.
Mary, can I ask you about the YouTube? What do you mean by subscribing? Do you have to sign up in that way to go on? I guess I've never used that.
If you subscribe, if you have a Gmail account and go to the channel and sign in, you can subscribe and then get notifications when new videos are posted.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
I
and
did
it
not
will
know
show
that.
them when you go to YouTube, it will populate your feed with
Right,
channels
on
that
the
you
right-hand
follow.
side. Okay, thank you.
We've also created some playlists now for different content since we have such a wide variety, you know, story times all the way up to Art with Elaine for seniors. So this way, there's so much on there now. People can kind of sort through what kind of content they're looking for.
And that's going to stay on. I'm hoping after this is all done.
You know, we've gotten some really good feedback from a customer who said that she would never be able to attend library programs because she was homebound. I think some of this stuff is really nice on demand. And so I think it's something that we could watch. We kind of have one of our graphic artists that is doing this full time pretty much. It is a, you know, quite a big time investment, but she's excellent at it. So I think it's something we will keep in some form.
Okay. I'm sorry, did
And
somebody
one-
have something to say? Oh, Mike.
Oh, yeah, just the, going back to the YouTube, comparing last month to this month. I mean, last month we were putting some stuff up there, but in a typical month, January, February, we were 55, 60 hours of watch time. Last month that bumped up to 83 and, or I'm sorry, in March that bumped up to 83. And then in April that bumped up to 452. So as you can tell, significant increase in engagement in that platform.
You know, and I was going to ask too, Mike, you know, it's going back to the previous page. And, you know, I've always wondered how many people actually contact our website outside of the library, how many people are actually going on to it. So that I think this is a little bit of an indication. Obviously, this is an extreme time, but, you know, 44,000, let's say like 45% of where we were before. And we're still getting a lot of usage out of that. Now, I'm guessing you have a lot of people that are looking for all these online, all these programs, online programs, and are going to that. Does that seem like a correct assumption?
Yes, but I think, you know, keep in mind that a lot of people go directly to YouTube for the views. They're going directly to social media for some of the stuff. They're going directly to the ebook provider, you know, through the app. We're not counting those interactions. So a lot of that stuff is happening. They're connecting virtually without going to our website. So the stuff that we're, you know, the people that are coming to the website are probably either trying to hit our databases or they're first timers going to the ebooks, you know, looking for links to be able to get to those ebook platforms, or looking for information on, you know, kind of what we're doing. But if you look at those top few pages, it's that kind of interaction. So.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. All right. It looks like Mary Anthe. Oh, I'm gonna let Mary Anthe back in. She got kicked off here. Give me 1 second. Okay, you back, Mary Anthe? All right. I think she's here. Okay. Looks like she's back. Then on the next page, on page 18. I just wanted to point out the total ebook checkouts. That first line, if you look all the way to the right, comparing April of 2019 to April of 2020, 97% increase in usage. Clearly, I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, but even looking from March of 2020 to April of 2020, we're seeing a 30% increase from 8,300 checkouts to 10,900. So more and more people are using those formats. So then I included over the next couple of pages some more detail on some of this stuff. If you guys are interested in that, I won't touch on that too much right now. But if you have any questions. Okay. And then,
any more questions? I'm sorry, keep going, Mike.
Go ahead. Okay. You're good?
No,
All
right. No, you go.
Okay. Looking at staff development, again, last month I didn't touch on too much of the staff development stuff. Staff are working in a number of different ways on training. This last month, staff completed 1,907 hours of training in April, and total since the closure, they've completed 2,416 hours of training. I will touch on the virtual Dutton Street Social Club. So our Dutton Street Social Club is hosted, they hosted 7 events in April over Zoom, including a coffee break, scavenger hunt, trivia nights, and formal Fridays. So they're doing a great job of keeping Staff communicating to one another in an informal setting, which is great. Let's see, then on the last page, page 25, I did include some customer comments. I'll just highlight a couple of them, or a couple of them here. I'm not sure who is responsible, so I'm hoping you can pass the kudos along. My daughter is in the middle of a book series and HML didn't have it in e-format. I submitted a purchase suggestion in less than 24 hours. We got notice of not just the one book we wanted, but the entire series now available on Cloud Library. Your team has a big fan in my second grader. So just showing how we're trying to respond as quickly as possible to customer requests. And then that last one, a parent's response to Tween Tuesday, the creative writing program. Thank you for your meeting yesterday. Katie absolutely loved it. I appreciate the time and effort it took to prepare for and facilitate it. So we do get a lot of very positive comments from customers, and I just wanted to pass along a couple of them to you.
I second the Tween Tuesday writing. My son did it and it was so good. It was exactly like, I would love to see more of that for him because that is his passion. And it's very hard for a 10-year-old to find something and bond with his friends over that. So that was amazing. So just from one mom, not board member, just a mom, it was good. Really good.
Thank you.
You know, if I may, this is always every month an extraordinary report, and I know it takes hours and hours to put together, and I don't think we get enough mileage out of it. Is there any way that it could be made more visible on the website as a drop down from the executive director's report or something like that? I know it's slightly modified for that purpose, but I think as a newsletter to the community, it's tremendously valuable and has wonderful information. And I would really encourage you getting, elevating the visibility of the executive director's report.
John, I think that's a great suggestion. I concur. I think there'd be a great way to communicate to, I think a lot of times we don't necessarily see all the things, and you direct us to exactly what is available. And I think a lot of people would appreciate that,
Yeah.
I also agree.
I agree, and I don't think it needs to be shortened unless Mike has the time to do so and edit it.
Yeah. Well, I think people will scan and read what they want.
Exactly. I don't think we should do efforts. I think it's a great suggestion, John.
Yeah, great suggestion. We'll take it back
Great
and
too.
see how we can utilize it better. Then on the next page, I guess it's after that, we had the metrics. I did highlight just a few of the metrics that I thought might be somewhat relevant. They're clearly down, being that we're closed. But I did want to point out that our circulation, it's down 68%, but we still circulated almost 49,000 items electronically. So that's not too shabby for a month that we were closed. And then chat sessions up 30% to 607 chat sessions. So that was about it. That's about everything I had for the executive director's report. I'd be happy to take any comments, questions, or anything else that you'd like to see.
I'm not sure where this would go in our itinerary. I happened to drive past the library this afternoon, and there is, I'm going to call it a clothesline with like baggies clipped to them, and there's clearly like papers or something in it. I was driving and I was going to be late to this meeting if I didn't just beeline it home, frankly. So I didn't stop to see what it is, but I'm curious, what is it? Is it supposed to be there?
Yes, they are supposed to be there. They're activity kits that our youth services staff put together. Shannon, do you want to give a little info on that?
Good eye, Andy. Those just went up this afternoon.
Huh.
So those are activity kits. They're activity kits for families and also by age groups. And they're the same activity kits that we have in the library. So it might be a craft that you can do together, but they're already fully together. You just pluck it off the clothesline and they're going to be replenished as they disappear. And within a few minutes of them going up, one was already taken.
Yeah, they weren't full. It was definitely like some had been taken, and I was just trying to figure out what it was. So really cool. Awesome. Good job, guys.
Very good. Okay, anything more from Mike on the executive director's report?
Just really quickly, I'm looking at the financial dashboard, and Donna, you mentioned how we were at 54% of annual property taxes, and pretty much on the mark for expenditures at this time of year with 33% of the year lapsed. But then I'm looking at the other revenue line items and seeing that we are in fact behind in revenue items for those other line items. And again, just cautioning with respect to expenditures exceeding revenue, and if we need to make an adjustment to the budget or amend the budget in the future.
That's a good point, and we're definitely considering that. And there have been some changes for sure. Fines are down. We expect $100,000. That's what our budget is for fines right now, and our fines are low. We've been closed, so everybody's account is on hold and nobody's accruing fines. So we know that we're going to be down there. So we're looking at individual lines for sure, and we're going to adjust the expenses when we need to and where we need to make sure that we are within budget this year.
All right, thank you.
Good point, John. Okay, anything else? All right. All right, thank you very much, Mike. Okay, now on to action item 6, the library closure due to COVID-19.
Okay, so I provided you guys a memo with some additional information about the closure and some plans going forward. We are looking to reopen some service points such as hold pickup and some phone services. So we're starting that likely toward the end of this week. So what I've outlined here is some information as to what we're going to be doing with that. I did get a couple of questions, which I'm going to address first before we get into this too much. First of all, motion number 1 should be phase 4, not phase 5. I apologize, that was a typo on my part. So that was looking to extend the closure of the building until our region reaches phase 4, not phase 5. Phase 5 might be a little bit off still. There was a question about the curbside. If we're considering curbside services, this question is about liability. So LIRA, our insurance pool, is aware that libraries are opening up curbside services. We have confirmed with them that a rider is not necessary, and we are covered with our current property and liability insurance policy. Drivers are responsible for their vehicles as usual. Before drivers arrive for the curbside pickup, they know that HML staff will be putting items in their trunk and closing their trunk. And that was a format that LIRA, our insurance pool, actually recommended. So the question was about liability for staff and or drivers, vehicles, et cetera. So according to LIRA, we're covered just as we would with other services. Then there was a question about considering drive-through services and how we will manage the capacity and logistics for those services and safety considerations of routing traffic in the garage. So we have set up a no contact system where people drive into the garage, they will scan their card, it assigns them a parking space number, and we have the parking spaces numbered with signs above them. They will then pull into that spot. This is all no contact. They scan it without touching anything. They pull into the parking space, and then our staff inside the building are notified that, say, parking space number 5, so-and-so is here. Here's their list of items. Staff member pulls those items, checks them out to them in a kind of a one-touch checkout, bags them, puts them on a table that is out in the parking lot, or basically at the doors to the parking lot. And then we have runners going between the car from those tables to the vehicle. So our runners will have safety vests on. You know, they know they're in a parking lot and they'll be watching for vehicles. But it's not going to be a high traffic area. I mean, obviously, there'll be vehicles there, and there's probably going to be quite a few people there. But it's not our typical traffic that we would see in the parking garage. And we're spacing the parking spaces out so cars are not next to each other. They're spaced every other space. So coming and going will not be nearly as tight as it normally is. We're not putting staff in the exit lane by the drive up. We're actually moving them closer to like where the drop-offs, the drop slots are in the double doors of the lower Dutton Street entrance. So it's a normal entrance and exit for customers or staff anyway. So we'll just, I have one or two runners going there to the cars. And we're also moving a returns bin out into the parking lot. So people that are just coming to return stuff don't even have to come into the garage. They can do it right from in the parking lot to, again, minimize traffic within the garage. And with this method, we can get people out of line and into a parking space quickly and, you know, not backing up, and people might wait there for a couple minutes while the runner is getting their stuff, but it should be much higher capacity than, say, the drive-up window or something like that. We've heard from other libraries that this service is extremely popular, and we're seeing, you know, 5 times what they normally would in the drive-up window. So we expect to see that surge at the beginning, and then after that, we may go back to the drive-up window eventually, but this is our process for getting started.
Mike, I have a question. This is Mary Anthony. What about if somebody doesn't own a car and has a bike or wants to walk up with a stroller, because we are very downtown centrally located? I'm just curious if there's other accommodations made for those that are choosing different modes of transportation.
There is actually at the upper Dutton entrance. We will have the doors open about a foot with a table behind that and a sign there that says, you know, if you're here to pick up holds, call this number. It rings downstairs. They can pull those items and run them up to them, still being socially distanced. All of this is done within CDC guidelines. We're providing staff with the personal protective equipment, all that stuff. So yes, we do have accommodations for that as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So Mike, I just want to make sure I probably just missed it. So when they're coming through the drive up, they're going to come in, they're going to take a spot, the number spot, they're going to call and say, I'm here to pick up, or how are they going to know?
Nope. When they scan their item or when they scan their card, they can use their card. They can use their phone, because a lot of people use the barcode that's right on their phone, or there'll be a staff member station there also. If they don't have their card, the staff member can look them up by last name and then assign them a parking space. When they get assigned that parking space number, the system automatically notifies our staff inside the building that this person is here. These are the items to be picked up. And then it's just pretty much one touch for the staff member to be able to check those items out, print a receipt, and then it goes out to them.
Okay.
So they're not calling unless there's an issue.
Mike, what are the hours of the service?
It'll be 10 to 4 to start. We're starting it Thursday, Saturday, and Tuesday. We're doing it 3 days a week to begin. We're doing a pilot with all of the holds that we have currently on our express reserve pickup shelves and our drive-through window. So we're moving those into that service, and then we're emailing those people and asking them if they'd like to come pick them up.
I think you will find very quickly that's not going to be enough. When we opened our drive-up window for 2 buildings, in 1 week, we had 1,500 cars come through and over 5,000 items were checked out. And our service was from 10 until 6, Monday through Saturday. So we're getting anywhere from, 15 to 20 cars an hour coming through. So try it, but I think be prepared that it's not probably going to be enough.
Right. No, and we're just starting this in the first week as a pilot. Our first week or 2, we're going to do the 3 days, and we're going to pilot it with the holds that are currently out there. Once we make sure that this whole process is going to work and we work all the bugs out of it, then we're going to crank it up. And
yeah, I mean, we didn't even promote it. Yet we did. On our website said that the drive-up window was open, but people find out very quickly.
Yeah, and this system is designed for scalability, so we could add another runner and hold pickup location, or another hold area, so we could split the alphabet into 3 and then have 3 or 4. So our efficiency can increase with the greater number of cars, so we can accommodate.
Good. Yeah.
Mike, as you're rolling that out, can you just be sure to email the board, just so that when anything does change, if hours change or days change, in this day and age, believe it or not, we're going back to the old fashioned questions from neighbors. We're not in the grocery store maybe as much, but just so we're in the know, even if it's on the website or getting sent out.
Yep.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Mike?
Yes.
At this time, Mary Anthony, it's only by notification while we're testing it. So we're going to send to in batches of 200 tomorrow and then over the next day or so. So it won't be something that we'll share publicly. You have to wait until your whole items are ready. So they'll get an email first.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that'll help us kind of throttle that, and then we can crank it up as we can account.
You might get confused patrons that are thinking that if, you know, I don't know if we need just to have signage. I don't know. I think they're gonna get some questions, or people that are coming in thinking we're just open.
Mike, are you accepting returns?
We are, yeah. We're taking returns that'll fit in our slots. We're not taking library things items, which are larger.
Yeah.
We're putting a return bin out in the parking lot so people don't have to come into the garage. But if people do come in for the pickup, we are also going to open up the slot down in the garage and then the slot at the Dutton entrance. And we're going to quarantine those items. Nobody will touch them for 3 days.
When does that start?
That'll be starting, I believe we're shooting for Thursday on that.
And I'm sure you guys have seen the article about the ice cream store in, I want to say Massachusetts or whatever, that made no announcement that they were opening, just for like curbside kind of stuff. And they got so inundated that the girl quit at the end of the day because people were yelling at her that her order wasn't ready and they were being obnoxious. And the owner has said that he never advertised, he didn't post it on Facebook, nothing, but it caught like wildfire. So I think that was, to Mary Anthony's point, maybe to Carol's point as well, is that even though it sounds like we're doing this in a very constructed, only people, we're only contacting those that already have things on hold, people will see cars coming in. And so I think there might need to be a plan, hopefully, plan for the worst, hope for the best, but maybe something that we can help our staff with or whatever, signage, or I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I just want us to be prepared that we could all of a sudden get a bunch of people trying to come in.
Yep. Yeah, we have signage throughout. Our signage states that it's by appointment, or not by appointment, but that it's people that are notified. We'll also have most of the administrative team will be down there working it as well for the first couple of days to kind of monitor how that's going. And we're going to be in touch with this every step of the way. So as we need to modify it, we'll modify it. And, to make sure we can accommodate and make sure we're providing good customer service to our community.
I'm sure you had a plan for it. I just know that as gracious and wonderful as people have been, people also get ugly really fast.
Well, they're chomping at the bit. I will tell you that if we have gotten any Il Borden people just showing up and say, oh, good, you're open, I can get some books. That hasn't happened. It's been the holds. We contacted all of the holds that had been placed prior to the closing and do you still want the items? And so we have not gotten just drop-ins, it's been, and so I think you will find the same thing. People will just be coming that you've contacted.
No, I just think this is a fantastic thing. It's actually exciting to hear about this. They were talking about this, getting back to being able to provide, be able to provide books, be able to provide things like that to people. I mean, we, trustees, we've seen the emails, we've seen the public comments. I don't know about trustees, but I've had some phone calls recently regarding this. And while everybody states everything a little bit differently, in a little bit different way when I'm talking to them, the one thing that's really, really overarching in all the comments is that they love our library and they want to get back and they're looking forward to getting back. So, it's a fantastic thing to be talking about this and getting this. But obviously, having said all that, we want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. So yes, there could be a lot of people. There could be an influx of people coming in. So we do want to make sure we're doing this the right way, that we're protecting them and we're also protecting our staff as we're going through all this.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we're taking every measure that we can. Okay, then any other questions on that so far? Okay, then I had another question about the compensation scenarios. If there was a question if staff were, let's see, if staff were asked to use PTO, would they be able to use sick leave? Currently, our policy does not provide for utilizing sick leave for other reasons besides actually being ill or taking care of someone who's ill. So at this point, we would not allow sick leave for that. We would encourage vacation or holiday or some of our other personal days. But if, once we talk through some of those scenarios, and if we felt that that was something that we wanted to offer the staff, we do have a committee of the whole meeting coming up on June 1st. We could bring that back for an amendment to our sick leave policy, a temporary amendment to adjust that if you guys felt that that was something that we wanted to do. So, we would
Hey,
have to-
Mike,
Yes.
you're going to have to make that then be a board meeting and not a committee of the whole.
Right. Yeah, we'd obviously have to change that from a committee of the whole meeting. But I wanted to see what came out of this meeting before making any policy adjustments.
In the meantime, can you gather from nearby libraries what they're doing? In terms
Yes,
of-
it's in the memo. As far as the sick leave goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can look at that. Only a couple of libraries actually started only paying staff that are working, so we can reach out to them and see if we can get some information as to how they're handling if they're allowing their staff to use sick leave for compensation. Lisa, do you want to weigh in on this at all at this point? Okay.
No, not really. We've heard from a few libraries. The most ones I've been hearing from have said they're using their PTO vacation type time, but we can certainly find out more.
There, also, if there is, and I'm sure, Lisa, you're aware of this, if people are caring, if a staff person is caring for someone, or if they have childcare challenges, they, through this act, they have, we don't get any money for it, but they can have a 2/3 of their salary paid for. So that includes childcare problems. If they can't have childcare, they can't come to work.
Correct.
And then
Yeah.
they can make up the difference with PTO if they want to. But anyway, so that has nothing to do with sick, but it has to do with they can't come to work because they have childcare issues.
Correct. That's the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And there's two segments of it, one of which being if you or an immediate family member is ill, and the second pertaining to childcare for someone under the age of 18. And that information has been shared with staff and with management in terms of come talk to me if you have a situation.
Right.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the federal government through that act is reimbursing public
No.
agents? No,
No.
we couldn't file. I wasn't sure if we could file
No.
for something like that.
That's a different program, Mary Ann.
Okay.
There was one library on the director's listserv. I can't remember which library. It was some small library, and they applied and they said they were approved. I think it was for the what is it? The
Paycheck payment program, the SB.
Yeah, right. And
But you got to have 500 or fewer employees, which we do, but that's.
yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, I questioned it. They just slipped through or whatever, because no, libraries are not qualified for that. So.
Okay, so what's the next thing that we've got here? I know there's 3 suggested motions that we've got here, Mike.
Yes. So I have 3 suggested motions. One is to authorize me to continue the closure of the building to the public, because we had in the previous meeting extended that through the end of this month. I believe it's the 30th. The next one is regarding the pay for exempt and non-exempt staff for the regular scheduled hours. I tied the closure and the pay to the phases that were released in Governor Pritzker's Restore Illinois plan. I feel like instead of going by date, 2 weeks or a month, let's just tie it to these plans or to these phases, because that's really when things are going to change for us. We're looking to, clearly we're going to be doing curbside. We're starting some phone support as well. Our info services staff are going to be taking voicemails and calling people back in this, probably also starting this week. So we are ramping up some of those services. And then as we enter into phase 3, which I think we're projecting June 1st-ish for now, that will give us the ability to open up potentially even more services. And so even looking ahead into phase 4, then we could, I want to be able to position ourselves where we can continue to add these services as we go. So that is, so those two are tied to the phases. And then the other suggested motion is to approve the essential services of our organization. So according to the stay-home order, government agencies can identify their essential services. And so according to our attorney, we should have the board kind of weigh in on that and identify some of those things, especially now that we're going to be providing curbside service while in phase 2. We feel a little bit more comfortable having the board weigh in on curbside and phone support, in addition to the other things that were already identified as essential, such as the administrative tasks, facilities, IT.
I would move that the Board of Library Trustees authorizes the Executive Director to extend the closure of the library building to the public until our region reaches phase 4 of the Restore Illinois reopening plan.
I second that with one caveat. Last night in the village meeting, the mayor announced that there is a proposal that's been sent to the governor that is taking us out of our region and letting 4 or 5 municipalities around us be considered as a separate region. So I would put that caveat in the motion. That was last night's meeting. They're having discussions with the governor as we speak. We are currently in the Cook County region, and they're asking that we be broken away from that, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, so let me restate that. I'll restate it. So the board authorizes the executive director to extend the closure of the library building to public until our region reaches phase 4 or the phase consistent with the Village of Arlington Heights under any amended arrangement with the governor.
Can I just interject there? So is it phase 4 allows us to open the library? Is it phase 5? What is it? Because it's the regions, is it phase 4? But
Well,
the point that it,
there is no phase where we could say we're opening the library tomorrow. We as a government body have that right. We wouldn't do that, but we do have that right.
okay.
We're not considered essential or non-essential. Within this, we can say these are the essential services that, but as far as the the state of Illinois, what's essential, and that's what Mike has said on the first page. Each government body is authorized to determine the essential government services. So in phase 3, I believe a retail is opening, hair salons, not bars, hair salons, barbers. 10 people can gather at one time.
Right.
And, but not the restaurants. And from what I understood, all I know, Deb, is what I read in the Herald, that I think it's the restaurants, especially in Arlington Heights, that they would like that moved up rather than wait to phase 4 to open restaurants. So I think that's why they want to get this moving, because who knows when phase 4 will come. Phase 4 then is 50 people can gather, restaurants open, schools can meet, schools open, daycares, all daycares can open. So that may not be coming until late summer. Who knows when phase 4 will be. So that's why the village was pushing that last night, I think, because of the restaurants.
But we're tying it into phase 4 though, because of the 50 people, because at that point we can have 50 people within the library. We have to manage it obviously, but we can do that.
Right.
So that's really 50 people in one spot.
In one spot.
Yeah, I mean, you're dispersed. That would be like 50 people in a program. So, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, if they're dispersed, then I don't think that counts. But anyway, that's.
Yeah, my objective with this is really to give me the authority to keep the building closed through phase 4. But there may be an opportunity to open the building sooner in, phase 3. if that goes on for a long time, there may be, because I think it says up to limited to 10 people, so I don't want to say we have to wait until phase 4, but I'm asking you guys for the authority to keep the building closed that long if need be.
All right, then let's just state the amendment the way it's written with phase 4 and understanding that you could act independently.
Good. Did we have a second on that?
Yeah,
I second that. Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay. Any more discussion on that one?
Just to maybe speak to a little bit of what Debbie mentioned, that Arlington Heights, Palatine, and Hoffman Estates, they approved resolutions to move us out of the region that contains Chicago. And so that might move us to move us through these phases quicker than otherwise anticipated.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So we got that one motion. And all these motions are intended to be separate, correct, Mike?
They are correct. Yes.
You're correct. Okay. So we have to vote on one at a time. Jan, let's do a roll call on this one, please.
Trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Roll, trustee Roll,
Dan, you're on mute.
Unmute.
Sorry. Yes. Yes would be that answer.
trustee Smart,
Yes.
trustee Suplet,
Aye.
trustee Tangney,
Yes.
trustee Finopoulos,
Aye.
President Zick.
Yes. Okay. So we've got the next suggested motion too. Would somebody like to make that one?
Sure. The Board of Library Trustees authorizes the executive director to extend pay to exempt and non-exempt staff for their regularly scheduled hours through the end of phase 3 of the Restore Illinois reopening plan.
I
I second that.
I think Krista got that one first.
That's okay. I'll give it to her. I think we're all in agreement.
So,
We're like Jeopardy, Mary Anthony. Who gets the buzzer burst?
so the reason why we have it phrased as through the end of phase 3, because we're assuming that once we get to phase 4, we're fully open, and through phase 3, we're still going to have some people that are going to be working from home, correct?
Yeah, so phase 3 will be kind of a transition for us. We're going to be bringing staff back in that time. Obviously, we won't be able to bring everybody back in that time. However, phase 4, I think we'll be able to utilize more of the public service staff in-house, and our hours will probably be extended a little bit further beyond what we'd be doing through curbside and stuff like that. So it gives us more opportunity to utilize the staff more so in phase 4 than phase 3. So this helps us to transition from one to the next.
And there will be some people that will be obviously asked to come back at that particular time. And then obviously it's their decision at that particular point. Does that work within this?
Right now, staff are self-selecting as to who's going to help with curbside. We've got managers and supervisors reaching out to some people asking, if they'd be willing to work in some of these roles. The number of roles will increase as we move forward, especially if we add hours to curbside or to phone support. So we will be asking more staff, but we're not forcing anyone to come back at this point. So right now, being in phase 2, we're pretty sensitive to that.
Okay, we do have the motion on the board. Are there any questions or any more comments from trustees? Andy?
Yeah, so I know I'm dealing with this in my own business, that I have individuals who are working for me that are either immune compromised or live with someone who is, and are fearful of they're on that end of the spectrum of comfortability of coming back to work and whatnot. I know that you said that they're self-selecting. I mean, I guess we can cross that bridge when we get to it, but is there any kind of, I guess, what are you hearing? Are people afraid to come back to work, or how are they feeling? Like, I want the staff to feel comfortable and confident, obviously, and I'm sure you guys have put a ton of different arrangements to make sure that that's happening. Are we going to be short-staffed in some way, shape, or form? I mean, I know we've furloughed basically a bunch of people, but.
Sure, that is a concern of ours, being short-staffed. We do have, personal protective equipment in place. We have signage throughout the building. We've done a number of things to prepare the facility for staff coming back. We're also rearranging some spaces, moving some people around to make sure office areas are able to maintain social distancing. We're providing masks. We have a 55-gallon drum of hand sanitizer. So we have done quite a bit to prepare to bring people back. And so we are getting a mixed message, not mixed message, but we're getting a full spectrum of responses from staff. Some staff are chomping at the bit to get back in the building and start working again. Other ones are a little bit more concerned about, they might be compromised or immune compromised or be a little bit more vulnerable. And so, we'll be working with those staff in the future, of course. But yeah, it's a total mix. Really getting different reactions from staff. Some people can't wait to get back, where others are happy to stay home for now.
So trustees, I have to ask this question. If we have somebody that comes in that's been asked to come back, but they do not feel comfortable in doing that, how do you feel about that under this motion?
Well, I think that those are the scenarios that Mike laid out earlier in this memo, and scenario 2, I think, addressed that pretty accurately. My only comment to that was to align it with phase 3, but I think those were the scenarios he laid out.
Linda. I think that's an individual HR conversation that has to be had with Mike and Lisa and the management person.
We do have the scenarios, though, that have been given to us.
But we're not voting on the scenarios. Those are scenarios that the management, the executive administrative team can use for the circumstances of implementing the motions that we're discussing now.
Right.
Okay, so we're comfortable just leaving it as is with Mike and Lisa and the managers.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, very good. Okay, any more comments on this one or questions? Okay, Janet, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Trustee Nettle,
Yes.
trustee Rule,
Yes.
trustee Smart,
Yes.
trustee Suplet,
Aye.
trustee Tangney,
Yes.
trustee Panopoulos,
Aye.
president Zick.
Yes. Okay, we have a suggested motion 3. Would somebody like to make that?
I will. The Board of Library Trustees approves opening the library building for maintenance and cleaning, administrative and support functions, and the processing and distribution of our collection as essential services for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Andy seconded. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any comments, questions on that one?
Is that immediate? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to clarify. Or is that a phase?
Go on, go. Just right here. Go.
It would just extend it through the phase 3. Oh, I'm sorry. This one, that would be immediate. Yes.
That will be immediate.
Do we need the
Trustee
data?
Smart, you're unmuted.
Yeah,
You can have her out and back in 2.
thank you.
That's part of life, right?
Yes, it is.
I just don't know if we need the date in there or just to say immediately, or I don't know if that.
Probably would good to have that amended to say the Board of Library Trustees approves opening immediately the library building.
Well, I wouldn't say you need that. It's again at the discretion of the executive director.
I agree.
Okay.
I just don't want any confusion to happen that the public again thinks it's open. So I think clarification is needed.
Well, then you have to amend the amendment, and that would be a vote on a separate vote.
Mary Anthony, how would they know? I mean, this is internal, right? I mean, people coming in and cleaning, I guess you're thinking that then they might think the library is open because they might see cleaning services going on? Is that the point?
No, I just, I don't know if the date needs to be had. If the board does not think so, I'm just curious if there's public listening to this board meeting and in attendance, that might be confusing.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, if they're listening, then they know what we're saying.
Okay,
Right.
so,
Yeah, they
so
could
no
ask
date is
now.
needed, and that's fine. Moving on. Right? If no date is needed, I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
I don't think it is. Usually with the motions, once you guys approve them, they're effective immediately. This
Okay.
gives us the authority to open these things. It doesn't necessarily say that we are opening them. It just
Got
gives, the board is approving these as essential functions.
Perfect. Okay, I do, thank you for clarification.
Okay, great. Any more comments? Thoughts on that one? Questions? Okay. All right, Janet, can we do a roll call, please?
Trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Rule,
Yes.
trustee Smart,
Yes.
trustee Suplet,
Aye.
trustee Taney,
Yes.
trustee Thanopoulos,
Aye.
President Zick.
Yes. All right, very good. We are concluded on that action item. Okay, let's go into a couple new business. Item 7, the employee engagement survey.
Yes, so I am going to ask Lisa Hack to unmute and go ahead and take over. She's going to talk to us about the employee engagement survey that was taken in January. And no, take it away, Lisa. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so the long-awaited employee engagement survey finally occurred in February. We had a great response. 87% of staff participated, which was above what we were hoping for. So we were all very, very pleased about that. As a quick reminder, the survey did have 45 questions. So 40 of them were actual, engagement-oriented questions. 3 were open-ended comments, and 2 were demographic questions. We did have a lot of participants make comments. About 175 out of the 250 people employed made comments. So we got a lot of comments. And overall, the results were great. They were really great. We scored almost 77% positive, which is 13% above the benchmark that we utilized. Which is really, really good. There was nothing in the survey that was a surprise, nothing unexpected, really validated a lot of the thoughts that we had, which was what we were hoping for. Of the 40 questions, there were 3 that rated below benchmark, and in the information you received, I gave you the list of what those 3 questions were. 2 of them were not significantly below benchmark, so nothing I would be concerned about at all. The one that was significantly below benchmark had to do with being satisfied with healthcare related benefits. And as we dug into that more, we realized that that was skewed based on our part-timers who are not benefit eligible selecting neutral for that. So obviously when you're doing a survey on a 5-point Likert scale, only the agree and strongly agree play in 2% positive, whereas neutral will essentially detract from positive. So if you're someone who doesn't get benefits, you don't really have an opinion about it. So neutral makes sense that was the response. So again, good to know where it came from, not concerned or worried about that being below benchmark. The benchmarks themselves. So if you recall, when we first dove into all of this, we decided we really wanted to make sure we did a survey where we could utilize benchmarking. Our past 2 engagement surveys did not utilize benchmarking, and we know that benchmarks are really important because they provide context. They let us know if our feedback is good or if it's not. It lets us know if 76% is that in the bottom quartile or is it in the upper quartile? You don't know until you have that to hold against it. Also lets us know a little bit if other organizations are encountering the same challenges, having the same strengths. But like I said, it is all a balance, right? So these numbers really validate our internal comparisons. We look at the comments we got, we look at our everyday observations, and we kind of take the art and the science, put them together, and it gives us the real feel for what's going on in our culture. And I think we have a very, very engaged culture, and that's wonderful. So the actual benchmark we chose, if you recall, we used SurveyMonkey as our tool. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, thought you had a question.
I was talking to myself.
The actual tool we used was SurveyMonkey, and we utilized their mid-size company benchmark, which is companies with 100 to 499 employees. And we chose this particular benchmark because it included a significant size pool of organizations participating, greater than 40 organizations and greater than 6,000 responses per question. SurveyMonkey themselves has a lot of different benchmarks: industry size, region, healthcare technology, manufacturing, that kind of stuff. So in terms of what really applied to us, because libraries aren't really well known for doing surveys where they benchmark, so we didn't have library specific data, but knowing that many mid-sized companies face the same challenges that we do, this was a good option for us. So that's where they came from. Moving on, I did provide you all, and I can throw it up on the screen if you want. Mike, do you want me to share the document with the category results? Or no, does it matter?
Yes, please. Sorry, I was
Okay. Okay. So where is, I'm sorry, I have to figure out, find my request screen share. There it is. Okay, there we go. So this was the executive summary that you received, and then here's our results. So of the 40 questions, everything was broken into one of the 6 categories: career development, work engagement, compensation, relationship management, benefits, and work environment. And you can see here in the first column, we have the AHML % positive, so what our rating were, what the benchmark rating for positive was, and then the difference between the two. You can see for career development and benefits, and even somewhat with work engagement, we're pretty close, pretty spot on with what the benchmark is. But there are certain categories, compensation and work environment, for instance, we are way, way above benchmark, which was amazing. I've been doing engagement surveys for 20 years, and I've never seen a survey where compensation was so much higher than the benchmark. And so that's so wonderful. It just talks about the fact that our employees appreciate what we have to offer. And that's, from an HR perspective, something really exciting. In the work environment, those questions were really all around our culture. So seeing as that we're nearly 30% above benchmark in terms of having a strong, engaged culture, that was, that really says something. And then the last part here of what I provided you is comments. So like I mentioned, we had a couple different comment questions. What do you enjoy most about working at the Arlington Heights Memorial Library? And far and away, the people, the customers, the coworkers, and giving back to the community were the top points of what people enjoy. And then what can be done to improve the library, make it a better place to work. The top 3 concerns were operations, communication, and then professional growth or full-time positions. Operations, I know, is a little bit vague. There's a lot of stuff that sort of fell into that category, but it was things like changes being made or implemented without staff input, changes to policies and process, level of autonomy, the library hours, what's LAT working on, the library administrative team, what are they working on? That kind of stuff all fell into the operations category. Any questions or thoughts at this point? Okay. And then for those of you who are really numbers oriented and like to look at everything, I can make this a little bit bigger. Here is the breakdown of each individual question. So I have it labeled by category. So for career development, work engagement, so on and so forth. And then you can see what exactly was asked in each individual question, and then look at how each question on its own accord scored percentage-wise. So this information was shared with the management team, and everybody has been basically told, take some time, look through the information, process it, digest it, compare your team's individual results to the benchmark, compare your team's individual results to the library overall, identify what are your top strengths, what are your top opportunities, and then think about what you want to action plan on. We are giving the managers the autonomy to decide their own action plans. Certainly, we want to encourage them to start implementing components of the action plan as soon as they can. Some things may happen now, some things may have to wait until there's more people back in the building, and that's okay. We're willing to be flexible given what's going on right now, but we have asked that every single manager complete an action plan around the engagement survey.
Is there a time frame based around when they have to have those actions back?
Right now there is not, and we specifically didn't put a time frame on it, knowing how in flux life is right now, and knowing that when we do get back in the building, there's a few other priorities that we want people to focus on, and then we'll circle to this. So what we had said during our management team meeting is, maybe in June, July, we'll be ready to nail down an actual due date. I've already heard from some managers who plan to start working on theirs right away, and others who will probably wait a little bit. So I'm going to keep a pulse on it over the next month or so, see who I get a response to, and then as we get a little further out, we'll be checking in with everybody to see where they're at.
Yeah.
Lisa? Oh, sorry.
Go,
Lisa,
Christy.
can I ask a question? So have you used this survey before in other settings or no?
So I have not used this particular vendor, but
Okay.
I have used many employee engagement surveys and several different vendors.
So the question I have, and because I honestly don't know much about this, is what's meaningful differences between the benchmark? When you talk about, like a 5% difference, how meaningful is that? And that at least looking at one of those sections, it looks like people are not internally consistent, depending upon how many people are responding to each question.
Yeah.
Is it a requirement that they have to answer every question in order to? So
No.
certain. Okay. All right.
Yeah. There was nobody had to answer any question, and so as you go through and look at the raw data, you'll see some questions have 150 people responded to them, and some questions only 100 people responded.
Okay.
So the percentage is based on just those who did respond.
Thank you.
I think this, when I first opened this up and I saw the 87% staff participated in that was awesome. I had a big smile on my face, so thanks to everybody for getting it out, and really thanks to everybody in this staff for taking the time to answer this, because these are the type of things that we really need to make this a great place for them to work. And when it's a great place for them to work, make it a great place for the for the residents. When I did ask that question about the time frame, I totally understand your thought process. I've seen too many things like this, though, get kind of postponed because of really good reasons, and they don't get back to them in the full force. So obviously you guys have to figure out what's best for your environment, but yeah, please let's keep on it and figure out what we need to do to even make these scores higher next time.
Absolutely, and the administrative team and I have had quite a lot of discussion around this, and we agree 100%.
Okay. John, do you have something?
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm thrilled with every aspect of this experience, from the engagement of the employees to participate and demonstrate their willingness to improve the organization, all the way to the leadership team that implemented it. The survey is fantastic. Your comparisons are meaningful, and so are the results. The observation that I'll make is it's not just a matter of the differences between our performance and the index. It's also the number of positives that are above or below 60%. So where there's positives that are below 60%, those can be areas of attention. And I'll draw folks' attention to relationship management, which is, again, the results are fantastic, but if we're going to look at areas of attention, relationship management is one of them. And going back to Greg's point and others, is the best way to show transparency and build trust is by a deliberate and methodical approach towards meeting the needs of the folks as identified in this survey. I think the other thing is that in front of us now is that there's a tremendous opportunity in front of us to build transparency and trust as we explain to the staff the circumstances around opening the library and the process that's going to be used, into having really open and dynamic communication is, in a crisis like this, is a great way to build trust. And the third thing is to expand engagement, invite more people to participate in around the table where the decisions are made, because there's nothing to hide.
I agree with everything you said.
Well put.
Trustees, any more questions, comments? All right, great. Lisa, anything else to finish off with?
No, thank you for supporting us through all this, and we'll certainly keep you posted as we progress.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Great. Good job. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to item 8, the 2021 budget timetable.
Yes. Okay. So typically at our May board meeting, I'll bring 2 pieces. One is usually the budget timetable that we're looking at, and the other, actually 3 things: budget targets, and then usually the previous year's audit. The audit is not completed yet by our new auditors, and they're hoping for mid-June. So I'm hoping to bring that to you next month at the board meeting. And then the budget targets are something that we typically set now so that we can work with those throughout the budget cycle. And with COVID-19, we're pushing that timetable out a little bit. So if you have the calendar in front of you, that's scheduled for Monday, July 13th right now. So reviewing the budget targets with the committee of the whole. That date is not confirmed. So there are a few dates on here that are not yet confirmed, but we were thinking July 13th versus July 6th, since there will not be a lot of people available with the July 4th holiday. So I don't know if you want to go one by one through this, or just take a look at it and ask any questions you have.
And trustees, any question? Donna, are these different? I thought we had talked about it. There was something I'd seen that these are a bit different than they were last year. Simply, I mean, I know the review isn't done yet, but the audit, excuse me. But are these different than what they have been in the past?
A little bit, yeah. So the actual the budget targets usually happen now in July, but now in May, and then I have it pushed out till July on here. And that is because we don't have numbers back yet from health insurance, from liability insurance. Tax revenue is still a question. I think a lot of people have heard that the second tax property assessment isn't due, or tax bill isn't due until October 1st now. It was pushed out a couple months. So I think we'll have to see what happens with that. Properties are being reassessed. I actually thought that net revenue was going to go down until I talked to a few people who got their assessments, and they're higher. So that might be more revenue for us. So there are a lot of different pieces that I'm uncertain right now, along with other people in the industry. And until I really know those, including cost of goods, I'm not going to be able to give you accurate numbers right now.
Is that reassessment going to affect us then in 2022 then, right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. So obviously those targets are pushed back, but how about anything for later on?
No, in fact, so I worked backwards this year, and I made sure that we're following our village budget hearing. So that is scheduled November 9th at 7 p.m. right now. And that was confirmed with the village. And then typically we adopt our budget in October, and that's still on here. So we're just working in a shorter time frame once the summer begins with the managers.
Very good. Very good. Trustees, any other comments or questions for Donna?
Looks good, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Donna. Okay, that is it for all those. For other, do we have a question, Mike, Shannon, whoever wants to answer this? When the residents come in to pick up things at the curbside or things like that, what is going to be the rules for them as far as face masks, things like that?
So according to the stay-at-home order, people are required to wear face masks or face covering in public whenever social distancing is not possible. We are not planning to require people to wear face masks, customers to wear face masks, I should say, because our system is really set up where it's contactless and our staff are to maintain social distancing between the driver and themselves. So all the station, well, the only station really that there would be interaction as people come through is set more than 6 feet apart from the driver. And then when the runner will bring the items out to the vehicle, they're depositing them in the trunk of the vehicle and closing the trunk. So there's no actual face-to-face contact.
The staff's going to have face masks and gloves?
Staff will have face masks and gloves and the stuff that they need to be able to maintain that in case they can't maintain social distance. But so staff will be protected.
So we're not requiring residents to have it, but they should follow, they really need to, should follow the social guidelines that have been set out.
Exactly. And, according to the stay-at-home order, I mean, the face requirements are required in public indoors when social distancing is not possible. So I would imagine most people probably have it anyway, but we're not making that a requirement to get into our line. Carol, do you want to speak to how you guys are doing it? Are you requiring it?
Our staff are, even though they're totally protected, because we're using our drive-up window and it's a solid glass, but they're still wearing masks and gloves. We're requiring, if you're handling library materials, that you need to wear gloves. And
your patrons?
Pardon?
Are you requiring your patrons to have a mask?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, no, they're just coming, they're in their car and some may be wearing it, but some may not.
Yeah, and we're requiring our customers to stay in their vehicle as well. They're not.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're protected by the sheet of glass. So,
gotcha.
With us, yeah. Mike, I just want to ask you because this is really director to director, but I'm sorry, but just real quick, then I don't have to call you tomorrow. Your staff decided on the 3-day quarantine?
Yes.
Because we were doing 3-day and now we're up to 7-day, but it's so up and down. It's
right. Rails recommended 7 and then they pulled it back and said it was 3 from what I understand.
Yeah. Okay, that's good because we may go back to 3 then.
Very good. Okay, any other?
I got something.
Deb, yes.
I just received notification today. I called Mike and let him know. The state questers has matched the grant from the Godey questers. So we'll be getting another $1,000 for our lights.
Good.
Woohoo!
Woohoo.
Wonderful.
Those questers are awesome.
Yes.
Go.
I'm the new
Thank
president.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, awesome. Anything else? Okay, so do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
So seconded?
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Stay safe and have a great night.
Great meeting, Greg.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
Thanks. Good.